is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Welcome. Hey, man, it's The Process, where the process is always greater than what it produces. Man, this is your boy, Shawn Barber, 10-year NFL vet, and you would not believe who we got in the building today. My man, he's a mountain of a man. Here in Kansas City, no matter if it's here, Green Bay, the mountains of Mount Holly, New Jersey, Tulane, or I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to find out exactly the story. This is my man, Dezman Moses, former linebacker here with your Kansas City Chiefs. And so, man, we're just going to jump right into it. We don't like to mess around. But before we hit the who, the what, and the where, I got to pay some bills. You know I got to pay these bills. So, yes, man, our title sponsor is the McGinnis Group. And, yes, I work for the McGinnis Group, and we specialize in employee benefits for health insurance for companies, retirement, financial services, life insurance, long-term care. Man, almost anything in the financial world that you would like, we can review it and put together a great package, not only for you, but for your company. So when you have a chance, holler at Scott, holler at Sonny, or Matt McGinnis with the McGinnis Group, where we understand what team is about. TEAM, together, everyone achieves more. And without further ado, man, we're going to get into it with my man Moses. Dez, what's going on, man? Listen.
Thank you for having me.
Always. We started the show with this, the who, the what, and the where. Who is Dezman Moses? What is he doing now? And then how can people find you? Where can people find you on social media?
Great question. Yeah, I'll start with the social media. Desmond M at Desmond M.
At Desmond M.
DEZMANM. Right now, I'm a real estate investor. I'm enjoying the TV side of football and staying close to the game. I got a show here in Kansas City, the Price Chopper Game Day Show, Sundays, 10 a.m.
All right.
So y'all make sure y'all check that out, man, if y'all want to get some pregame notes and figure out exactly what I'm thinking, my hot takes for the week. But I'm enjoying it. Obviously, being away from the game is always a little difficult, leaving your teammates, the type of bond that you have. But getting into real estate and real estate investment particularly has been something for me that, not only has the challenge been one to keep me going, but I like making money. I think that's the young hustler in me from Jersey.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the where people can find you at. And also you got hashtag Moses Squared.
Moses Squared, yeah, that's my podcast. Yep, my little sister. We're talking about sports, the culture, on field, off field, really geared for young athletes who want to, try to get those tidbits, those nuggets on how to analyze or how to approach some of these systems like high school now with NIL, college, just the business side of it and how you can navigate and maybe avoid some hurdles.
All right, now let's talk about the journey. Like we said, is Willingboro, New Jersey, out of Mount Holly, New Jersey. Now listen, we've had way too many guys on the show already from New Jersey. Dana Hughes,
yes, sir.
Bring his name up. Jersey boy, man. Golly, he is Jersey through and through. Just kept talking about all the cats, all the Jersey this. And then to see that, he went to Iowa. And then when I was doing research about you, I saw that you were committed to the Hawkeyes. But then at some point, Tulane, right?
Yeah. So I started, I came out of Willingboro, New Jersey, which is also the home of Carl Lewis and Shawn Phillips.
Look at that Jersey blood. You always got to give all the shout, all the props to everybody from the area.
That's how we do it.
Yes,
you got to show them love. But went to a really awesome high school, man, public school, and really a school in an area that's known for having some athletes and music. We got about 7 Grammy Award winners from my high school alone. Yeah. So we had a really cool program with the arts and also with the athletics. So I was honored to go there and then went off to Iowa. That was a big deal coming from, public school, ended up at the University of Iowa, Big Ten. Went out there, played as a true freshman, true sophomore. Was a little too much Jersey for him at the time. They're like, look, young blood, slow down now.
Yes, sir, yep.
Slow your roll. But, we were just having good, clean fun. Decided to relocate and ended up at Tulane and blessed for that opportunity there, man. We really, I would say even coming into Tulane, we were probably a 2-3 win type of team program. If you guys paying attention last year, Tulane beat USC.
Yes, sir.
The Cotton Bowl, really, really big game for the whole university.
Green Wave. So for Hawkeye was Jim Reed, was he one of the guys in the program while you were still there? He was a linebacker coach. He coached me at University of Richmond. Again, on the defense side, but I know everybody talks about Iowa U as tight end U because of Hawkinson and all the other.
Even Tony Moyaki was a former Chief that I played with, and Brandon Myers. where I played. I think he was a 12-year vet while I was there. I was a guy who transitioned. They were trying to get me to play tight end. I was an all-state wide receiver in high school, actually.
All right.
But I wasn't, I wanted to hit folks, You got that linebacker mentality. It's therapy out there.
Listen, we got a lot of things in common. We were both high school wide receivers.
Yes.
We both amazing linebackers in the league. All district wide receiver myself.
Correct.
Played both ways and everything.
That's how we did back in the day. It wasn't one way. Yes. Athletes.
The unfortunate part about what we did was we learned how to play the game on either side of the ball. And I think, and I go back to my years as playing wide receiver and safety, and I thought I was really a better linebacker because I understood the passing schematics. Yeah. I knew the passing tree. I knew complementary routes. If this guy's running a hook behind me, then there's going to be a flat in front of me or a slant in front of me, something to try to make me bite up and come up so they can throw something behind me. Yeah. So I was able to kind of play that cat and mouse game with the quarterback, like, you don't know if I'm going to come up or if I'm going to stay back and get underneath, or
correct.
I'm going to turn my shoulders like I'm about to break flat, but I know you're trying to throw this hook route behind me.
Yeah,
so I've seen that in your film over and over again as, like, man, he's playing a game of chess while everybody else is playing checkers out there. And so I kind of admire that. Now, you talking about you watch me playing.
Yeah, I did. Grew up watching you. Big collar, you had to.
Oh, man.
Busting, that's how it was back then.
I was 220 pounds, so I had to make it look like I was 240 because I didn't want those fullbacks and those offensive guys to think I was no punk. So
absolutely.
I had to make myself, I put listen, I played back in the days where we took socks and tied up under our shoulder pad to make our shoulder pads lift up.
But y'all was hitting, though. So y'all was in the errors hitting. I think I was a little late in the errors because I got about 6-7 big hit balls at the crib, but
yes, sir.
The game's kind of gone away from it a little bit. They don't like the big hits. But that was my game, though, and I enjoyed it. It was truly therapeutic.
Man. All right, so from New Jersey to the Green Bay Packers and then eventually to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. IG at Dez, D-E-Z-M-A-N, capital M.
Yep.
Dezman M. And then on hashtag Moses Squared, it's for his podcast.
Absolutely.
And then a game day show, Price Chopper Game Day Show.
Yeah.
Look him up on the Game Day Show. So that's the who, the where, the what. That's how you find them. That's my man Moses. We're gonna talk a little bit, man. Listen, absolutely, we know what everybody's interested in. Yep. What happened on Monday night? Monday Night Football. I can go down the stats real quick. There's
two stats that really stand out. If you ask me,
the tail of the tape. Whenever I go, I get amazed. Every time I read it, it's unbelievable that it can be this lopsided to the Chiefs as far as yardage gain, big plays on defense, all the things we limited them to, and somehow we found a way to shoot ourselves in the leg enough times to lose that game. The Eagles, we held our defense, the Chiefs defense held the Eagles to 238 yards total. They was 3 for 11 and third down, which is phenomenal. We forced 7 punts. Of those 7 punts, 5 of them were 3 and outs.
Wow.
Allowed only 21 points from a top 5 offense, and we sacked Jalen Hurts 5 times. If I tell you just those statistics, every ball game, I'm going to think you win 90% of the time
100%.
From a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, only stat that really, jumps out that you didn't talk about was obviously the turnovers. I always talk about it on the show.
Yep.
The National Football League, the margin of victory is so small. So for guys, that may not understand the game of football like how we do, a turnover is almost an instant way to get behind or make sure that you lose. But a turnover in the red zone, which we had 2 of, the interception, then the fumble by Trav, those are like not just turnovers. Yeah, you're taking points off the board. I mean, those are huge for a game to be lost by 4 points and you have a drop touchdown, 2 turnovers in the red zone. I mean, you got to almost applaud Kansas City's defense. They're, going against an elite offense. A.J. Brown, 1 catch, 8 yards. That's an elite guy. This defense is really standing up tall. They needed the offense to support him a little bit.
You talked about the defense again, so let's get Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, oh, man.
Right now on the all-pro level, he ended the game up with 4 tackles, 2 sacks, a pass defender, and a forced fumble. And not only did he end up with stats, but his
effective.
Being able to use him on the edges as a lockdown corner and then slide him into the nickel so that Ladarius Sneed can travel with A.J. Brown.
Correct.
And can man, listen, you watch that film, Ladarius Sneed was slapping A.J. Brown around. like he ain't never had done before. And this is not something where it was just like a guy you wasn't prepared. Like if you watch the film,
you knew it was coming.
He's been doing it there. Justin Jefferson,
Tyreek
Hill,
punching guys at the line.
Every receiver who lines up, they know they're gonna get Ladarius Sneed, and he's gonna be a physical SOB right at the line of scrimmage. And your release game got to be so tight to get off of him.
Yeah.
But he's not scared. He's not. There's no hesitancy in his game. It's super aggressive. And I've watched Coach Spagnuolo talk about there's some penalties that comes along with that. So once in a while you're gonna get a hand to the face or something, but you don't want to take away his aggressiveness
at all,
being fearful of a penalty. So there are some penalties that are just part of the game. And I think if he's able to continue to play that way, not that he mirrors him on every single snap, but the fact that the majority of the snaps, you know that your wide receiver one is going to kind of be
big time snaps,
kind of taken away from the offense. That puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback to find other receivers or other ways to move the ball down the field. Yeah. And like we said, what we saw on Monday Night Football was it took an offense that was, man, like we know how the tush push work. We know that, it's
almost unstoppable.
Right. Instead of 1st and 10, they're working on 1st and 8. Instead of, 3rd and 7, it's 3rd and 5. Like it's 2 yards less than everybody else working with. So you have to think about on 1st and 2nd down, really limiting them to like less than 3 or 4 yards to give you a chance to even be effective on 3rd and 4th down.
100%.
And in the fact that we've had McDuffie and Ladarius be able to kind of combo and play so many different unique combinations, it definitely allowed our defense to be very unpredictable and very effective.
Well, this is the piece that I love too. When you have DBs that are interchangeable for the offense, it gets difficult.
Yeah.
Because one of the main things that we try to do as defenders pre-snap is disguise.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make these quarterbacks read what the defense is on a run, hopefully confuse them and have them throw in the coverage. When you got two guys like McDuffie, who's a heck of a tackler, this guy's tough, can play inside the box, will go tackle, go put a hit on the guy, and then you have luxurious, I call him luxurious Sneed because he's a straight baller. But you have a guy like that who's big, long, physical, wants to make tackles. It's something that really makes a defense special. And then, we can go ahead and talk about the linebackers too while we're at. We got 5 deep. How we get Drew Tranquil off the street? It's like, this guy's a starter. We barely missed Nick Bolton, and that's a huge thing to say, being that he was our leading tackler last year. But, this defense has depth, they have talent, they have youth, they have experience.
Yeah.
Pretty much all you want in the defense, and they're playing like a number 2 defense.
Yeah, you talked about Drew Tranquil, also big play Willie Gay.
Oh, my God.
Phenomenal.
He's playing on that edge right now, and I love it. I love him as an edge rusher.
Going to the edge, he brings a speed, quickness, explosiveness that even with the T.J. Watts and some of the premier Garrett from the Browns, some of these traditional ends, this type of explosiveness that you see from Willie Gay is, it's like the road runner.
Correct. That twitch. He's a quick twitch. That's the first thing that jumps out on film. And you're like, he's playing these blocks so quickly. When you got the twitch like he does and you're playing inside the box, pullers, they become less effective.
Yeah. And sometimes when, we're going kind of nerd out a little bit on this linebacker position until we get to the break. But when you're talking about a linebacker who's that twitchy, it's almost sometimes a negative because he's making his read and he's going before the offense can develop the play. And sometimes he gets to the gap too fast.
Correct.
And he actually beats the primary run defender. So it might be cloud force, it might be edge force. So somebody's waiting for that pulling guard, pulling center to get there. And I'm preparing myself. And before the guy gets there, Willie Gay comes through and freaking like blows up everything. And now it kind of like maybe puts a few guys out of the gap.
Yeah.
And I think I saw that on that big play that the Eagles had. It was they show it. It's when the Kelsey kind of threw down Reed.
Okay.
It's a double pull to the left. Willie Gay was adjusted over to the weak side, and he read it perfectly. He almost
slow too fast.
Well, he shot the backdoor gap.
Oh, okay.
Instead of flowing over, he shot the backdoor gap, and we ended up being one guy short on the play side. And so Reed came up, got outside of Jason Kelsey, and then when the running back cut back, it should have been Willie Gay there, but he read it so fast, and that.
And that's the thing. You have to be correct. I played with a guy, Derek Johnson, who is known for, going back door, but was one of the best tacklers.
Yes,
a guy that could tackle a leg, better than probably anybody I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
He played at about 232, all-time leading tackler here in Kansas City, and really it's an art to it. You know, I think even more than now, especially with the rules. You can't tackle, can't roll a guy. Defensive guys got their hands in the bind.
Yes,
and it's really difficult. But hey, Kansas City's figuring out how to get it done.
Man, playmakers all over the field on this defense. Hey, when we get back, man, we're gonna talk a little bit more Chiefs defense. We definitely gonna talk about. I mean, we got to talk about it. It's been Raider week already for about 3 days now.
It's that time.
At the end of this 21-17 loss, obviously we wipe our tears as fans. We got a long season in front of us. But here in Kansas City, man, when the next game is the Raiders, it becomes Raider week immediately once that clock is 0-0-0. So it's been Raider week for now 3 or 4 days. So we got to talk about the Raiders. Hey, man, get back to the second break. You're watching The Process. This is The Process, where the process is always greater than the product. My man, Dezman Moses, will be right back at you.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
And welcome back to The Process. The Process is always greater than what it produces, man. Me and my man Dezman Moses, we're here in the building. We're going to spend this segment, this kind of wrapping up this, obviously, Monday Night Football. I kind of mentioned already, man, it's Raider week. So it's all focus has been already over at One Arrowhead Way at Arrowhead Stadium. They've already turned their focus. This game is in the books. Monday Night Football, it's no time to wipe your tears and be upset and be all angry. Listen, there were some penalties that were called that we can talk about, the false starts, the offsides, which way did those go. But man, at the end of the day, we're not blaming no referees here. You had the chance at the end of the game to make the plays. There was still, no matter all the mistakes, no matter all the shooting ourselves in the foot, the things, there was still an opportunity. We had the ball with less than 2 minutes, and we had opportunity to make a play. Right? We had MVS down the middle of the field.
A few opportunities.
Go route. That would have been a touchdown to put us up by 3 points. We didn't make the play, and so at the end of the day, we take the L. But we still, there's a lot of discussion here in Chiefs Kingdom about the wide receiver room. Yeah. And so we'll talk about that right now, man. When I was here with the Chiefs, 2003, I was introduced to an offense where we had Tony Gonzalez, we had Priest Holmes, we had one of the best offensive line here in, I think, the history of Kansas City with Willie Rofe, Brian Waters, etc. Will Shields, definitely Casey Wigman. So with those guys up front, with Priest Holmes and T. Rich being the fullback, and Tony Gonzalez as a tight end, I mean, we moved the ball up and down the field, like hot knife through butter almost
for sure.
all season long. Nice. And there was always this struggle, this conversation about where is the number one wide receiver in that offense. We had Eddie Kennison, Mark Bobrichter, Johnny Morton, and maybe Dante Hall was part of that regime. But there was no Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, no dominant wide receiver like that. And so we had a discussion internally, locker rooms are locker rooms, but is there really a need for a number one receiver if the offense can still be so effective, controlling the line of scrimmage, possession ball? We were really smart. We led the league, I think, in turnover ratio when it comes to your gain turnovers, lost turnovers. So, like you said, you talked about turnover, man. That's the equalizer, right? That's always the equalizer. But let's talk about some of those wide receiver rooms you were part of.
It's interesting because I always compare Patrick to Aaron Rodgers. Those are the two quarterbacks I had in my career. Yeah, my rookie year, I was with Aaron Rodgers, and he had a receiving core made up of Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Greg Jennings, James Jones. Jermichael Finley.
Yes.
Jordy Nelson was a young gun. So he had truly 3, 4, maybe 5 number ones.
Yes.
And how easy he made it look. There were times in games where he'd come over to the defense and just say, "Hey, get that rock back. I got you." And he knew, he was that confident that these guys would get open, and that he could get them the football. And then, you've seen him some years removed when those weapons kind of trickled away. Cobb left, Greg left. James left. All of these guys. Jermichael retired. His job got tougher. He started to press a little bit. You saw some injuries. So really, this becomes my greatest fear for Kansas City. Will Patrick start to press? Being that he's got to not only try to put the ball on these guys, but now he's trying to make it catchable. It's like you can't throw guys open like how I grew up watching professional ball catchers, guys like Irvin Fryer, who
oh my goodness,
did drills for hours after practice to assure his hand.
Chris Carter,
Chris Carter, Randy Mosses. I mean,
Larry Fitzgerald, yes.
I was a wide, we talked about I was all-state wide receiver in high school. I could, on one hand, count the number of balls I dropped in practice, let alone my career in high school. We took it personal. I don't see that same type of passion for these young guys. I think so much emphasis has been placed on speed and all these different things that don't have anything to do with football when the game starts. And now we're kind of seeing a little bit of it because I would say at least half of those balls should have been caught. And that's the reason why you really need a number one receiver in crunch time and playoff time. That margin of error is so small. DBs are much tighter. It's a little more handsy.
Yep.
You got to go make a catch.
Yeah.
They're not going to bail you out when it's crunch time. That's the fact. So I just hope Kansas City can maybe find a piece. Obviously, this is a tough time to do it, being that trade deadlines pass. But
and I think some of the things we're seeing is not even trait and skill lack. We know at this level to get to this point, these guys have to be able to catch the ball. It's not even a doubt can they catch it. It's just at the moment in time when it's your turn to step up and the ball is coming to you, do you lose a minute, a second? Does your focus deviate just that small amount because now you're trying to think about what you're going to do after you catch that? Instead of
hit that's coming.
Yes, yeah, whatever it is, right?
Whatever, yeah.
Or the route concept. Are you worried about running the route concept to the point where now you turn around and you haven't prepared yourself mentally to start catching the ball because you were worried about running the route? Yeah. So all of those things kind of come into play, and it's back to the it's a young receiver group. These are a group of young receivers, but it's not using the word young to say they don't have the skill, they don't have the ability to be great receivers. It's like they just don't have the experience to being put in the place and the time.
I want to ask you this and bounce this off you because I always, being that my first 4 years I spent with Andy, with EB. EB was the guy. EB was known and kind of openly known, even his reputation with the Washington Commanders, whatever they call themselves now. He's the enforcer. He had a natural respect, and he'll go toe-to-toe with anybody to stand on. I've seen him stand up next to Jay Charles, and still to this day, them two men love each other. So it wasn't a disrespect, but the accountability factor was there at a really, really high level, and he's really the only piece that's missing.
I mean,
those guys last year were okay receivers,
yes,
but we can't call them, true number one. Juju and they weren't huge impact guys, but they had an impact because of how consistent and that accountability.
You don't go to how effective we were last year to the amount of drops we have this year because we removed Juju.
Right.
It can't be correct. It can't be just that. So it has to be a environmental change.
Absolutely.
And sometimes removing a certain coach, I'm not gonna say I feared any coach.
Yeah.
But I had an amount of pressure and respect for a certain coach that I didn't really want to hear his. I don't want to hear his.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear him writing about me. I don't want to hear him calling me out on film. So it put more pressure on me to perform at practice each and every day at a certain level, and then the game became easy.
Right.
Maybe that extra nudge, that extra poke, that little, who got eyes on you is just not being there on an everyday, practice facility type method.
And we know this, that we are our practice habits, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if we're practicing lackluster, or we're practicing and we don't hold ourselves accountable for what seems like a harmless drop in practice or an increase, EB wasn't here. From the time you stepped onto that grass surface, you better be ready.
Locked in.
You better be
locked in.
And look at this. Look at who's the top passer in the NFL right now.
Yes. Yep.
Kid out of Washington Commanders.
So he definitely brought something to that organization.
Absolutely.
There was a phrase EB used, a lot of his players and teammates knew it. He talked about straining the finish. Straining the finish. That means like playing through the whistle on the practice field, finishing plays, running backs, catch the ball in the flat, you're going to burst 25, 30 yards up the field.
Right.
Even when you didn't, it was like, no one's there to tackle you, but that's just the mindset that was being interjected on a every day, every practice. It just changes your mindset just that much to be able to strain through the finish.
And this is the beauty of what he did, because he was one of those guys, a real player, a real coach. it didn't matter who you were. You know, there's some coaches who will pick and choose who to regulate. And then there's some guys you say across the board. Like I said, I've seen them go toe-to-toe with Jamal, the star in his prime. And it wasn't to show him up. It was to show everybody else that we're holding everybody at the same level of, you know, and standard. And, you know, I always had a lot of respect for him. He's a frat brother of one of my uncles. So, you know, just my whole life, I've always heard the stories, how he went about his business. I don't know. Kansas City, you know, they might miss him. We'll just say that. We'll say that. Respect to him.
All right. Well, hey, that's how we're looking for some answers in the receiver room. At the end of the day, maybe it's just some practice habits need to be, you know, whipped in shape or something like that. But at the end of the day, we still know it's a long season. Yeah. The ability is in that run. I don't think there's a lack of ability. There doesn't need to be a personnel change. It's just like we said, an accountability, responsibility. Maybe some things need to be done in between drills, something like that, just to let guys know, hey, there is a solution to this problem, and we got to be willing to do it.
Who's the veteran? You know, you got to ask that question.
That's
so
right.
There's always a veteran. I had Tom Ali. I had Justin Houston. You know, in Green Bay, I had Clay. If you weren't playing to that standard, you were in that room, there was a guy with that experience, with that respect level that generally could challenge you and say, hey, come on, man.
I like it. Long season. So obviously, listen, man, we can't go any further without acknowledging what this is right now. And we're gonna say this probably about 10 times throughout the show, but it's Raider Week. It is what it is. It comes twice a year. Kansas City gets all amped up for it. Everybody wants to hear about all the Raider stories, all the different things. Obviously, one of the Raider stories that just jumps into my mind every time I even say it's Raider Week, I imagine myself coming off the edge. It's a blitz package.
Okay.
We got a Willie blitz. Will linebacker comes off the edge. They came out in a double tight formation, so we checked. We checked it for both guys to come.
Okay.
And Gannon, at the time it was Rich Gannon, he went to a max protect.
Okay.
Well, the tight end.
It's crazy the detail you remember this.
We hear him go max protect, max. The tight end didn't get it.
Okay.
He releases to run his option route.
So you naked. You come off.
I'm naked, and he naked, and he don't even realize it.
Backside naked.
Backside. I put my helmet right in his shoulder. I take him down. I hear him at the end of hit the ground. There's everything that's left his body at that moment, man. They come and get him. That was the last snap for him as far as that season.
Wow.
He rehabbed back, came back the next season. I think in the preseason, maybe he called it a career. Yeah. So take no pride in ending a man's career, especially a guy like Rich Gannon who's played so many years of football. But, I mean, we're out there to do a job and play hard-nosed, tough football, whistle to whistle. And that's the kind of attention to detail you have to have on both sides, because if you don't do your job, people get hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things. Somebody asked me, hey, Barber, like at the end of the day, like what really drove you to be a really good football player? And like I said, like it wasn't about my skill and ability. I was in fear that me not being in the right alignment, assignment, and I didn't execute, it would cause one of my teammates to get hurt.
Correct. That's a crazy story that you tell me, because again, like you said, it's the accountability factor. Yeah. You didn't want to let your guys down. People ask me my transition from college being at Tulane to the NFL. And surprisingly, I always tell them it's easy. It was easier. I was challenged to make plays not only in my spot at Tulane, but I was challenged. You know, my coach said, hey, if you want to come out of Tulane and go to the league, you can't just make your plays. You have to pop out on film. You got to go to the other side and you got to run guy. You have to be in every defensive frame for the entire game. I was like, wow. You know, it wasn't until about week 6 of my senior year where Coach Hendrickson told me, he's like, now that's what I'm talking about. And it wasn't the biggest game. It wasn't, you know, statistically the largest game for me. I think I had a sack, maybe a TFL, but it was the energy that I brought. And going from that, having to do that and have that responsibility to go into Green Bay, I'm playing next to Casey Hayward, AJ Hall, BJ Raji. You know, I'm making checks with Charles Woodson, Morgan Burnett, and my job was no longer to make plays on the other side of the field. It was to be in my gap. Yeah, I'm like, shoot, I can get my gap 100% of the time and make my plays. That's what it came down to. But accountability is what would allow me to be an undrafted free agent, playing with a guy that I looked up to my whole life in Charles Woodson. Him calling me over, I always tell this story, you know, he's like, Mo, he calls me over in the weight room. He's like, you're going to help us win some games this year. This was OTAs. I'm an undrafted free agent. I hadn't made the team yet. So I'm like, this come from Mr. Charles Woodson. Yes, sir. You know, he knows something. I mean, it played out just like that. I helped the team win some games. And if not for Kaepernick and those guys, when they had to buy, they came out with a new playbook, man. We probably would have won a Super Bowl. And that would have been back-to-back for them.
Yeah.
Special team.
Good stuff. All right, man, we're going to get another break in real quick. And then in the last segment, we're going to talk a little bit more stories about Rod Woodson, Andy Reid, just different people in our lives who kind of led us along the way in some of our different interactions with that. Once again, you're listening to The Process, where the process is always greater than the product. We are also always, man, so appreciative of the McGinnis Group for their title sponsorship. We'll be right back at you.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
There's so much to be thankful for. Family, friends, food, and NFL football all week long. DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping your Thanksgiving week full of action. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL action and score $150 instantly in bonus bets. No matter your appetite, there's something for you. Money lines, parlays, props, live bets, and so much more, you name it, they've got it. Looking at the early lines for the Chiefs versus the Raiders. Chiefs 8.5-point favorites on the road, over-under set at 43.5. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms.
Welcome back to The Process, where the process is always greater than what it produces. Again, man, 10-year vet Shawn Barber, my man Dezman Moses with us. And we just going to keep rolling into these stories, man. All of our listeners on social media, man, we love the feedback. We love the comments. And only thing I hear all the time is, man, more stories. I want to hear about when y'all was in the locker room and everything. So we're gonna take this third segment to kind of dial back and go back into some of these stories y'all want to hear about. So, I mean, I would start out with, like, listen, we started talking in the break about the fine system, different guys getting fined. So you don't know it, but I'm actually the uniform inspector I'm the popo. I'm the popo for Arrowhead Stadium. So I was telling him, going over some of the fines that some of our guys got, and he was like, yeah, man, I remember, getting fined and how that process works. A lot of people think that the fines are something where, you accumulate fines and at the end of the year,
right,
you owe the league money.
Or it's optional to pay.
Yeah. You want to make a donation. No, it's taking out your check before you even get the check. So before you get your Tuesday check, inside that same envelope is a little letter, a little FedEx that says you've been fined a certain amount of money, and so that check is just a little bit light.
Yeah.
And when I say a little bit, back in the day, I think for us it was like $1,500. It was $1,000. A big fine was like $2,500, and now the fine started at $2,500.
Well, I had a fine. I hit Tom Brady a step late in the conference game.
I'm gonna see if you know how much it was, because I actually know how much
30.
It was.
It was 30, and then it got reduced to 17.5, I believe.
17,363.
Yeah.
How was that? It got reduced to 17,363.
Yeah.
I looked it up, man.
That's tough.
Roughing the passer versus Tom Brady in the playoff game.
Yes, sir.
Had to get him.
Man, that was my last play on defense.
Did you get your money's worth?
No, I didn't. Honestly, that's the thing. It was like, it wasn't dirty.
No.
Everybody has a ton of respect for Tom Brady, obviously, but, he has that type of power. It was one of them plays where I hit him a step late. No flags came out inally till he looked up at the ref and said, "What's up?"
Yeah, and the ref,
no flag. What?
Right. That was a half a step. You know what? That might have been a half a step late.
30,000 later. Yeah.
Oh man. So all right, you didn't get your money's worth out of it, and at the end of the day, the fine. So when we talk about these fines, man, guys today are getting fined. Listen, even if we go back to, it's Monday Night Football. There were a few times I saw Fletcher Cox's knee on Patrick's neck. There was a time after Pat threw the ball where somebody came with a forearm in his back and kind of slapped him down. And I can understand if I'm the ref, I'm behind the play, the ball leaves, I kind of follow the play, so then I lose a little bit of vision on the quarterback. And I would say, man, there are teams that just take advantage of that. They like the Eagles just took advantage of that. Now, we did get a penalty late in the game against Fletcher Cox for roughing the pass, and that was I think that was probably less egregious than the other two things he did. But all in all, like I think they did a good job of pressing the envelope. They were physical. They were physical, and they made it to the point where, if you're a ref, do you want to call this every time?
Right.
Then it makes it, subjective in their mind. Well, I didn't call it last time, and this wasn't worse as that, so I can't call it this time.
Well, you know as well as I do, it also depends who you are. And the Eagles have some of those names, like you just said, a Fletcher Cox, a 15-year. These guys are going to get the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes versus a young guy. They're going to let them, hey, the refs, they have memories too. They remember when these guys could hit quarterbacks, and, sometimes I think they feel bad for the old-time quarterbacks. But, there's some hits too that, obviously, doing your job, there's fines that come out on hits or plays, that don't go flagged.
Yes.
Sometimes you just think you had a clean game, and you come out on Tuesday and your check is light, it's short,
and that's the worst.
That's worse than getting the flag, because the flag you something might be coming. Sometimes there's just a play. NFL saw something, and they'll send you that invoice.
Well, Kareem Jackson knows all about that. That hit he had on Dobbs.
That was tough.
Not only did he get fined, but he got suspended 4 more games. I mean, he's potentially one personal foul away from being suspended for a whole season now, just because of the number of times he's led with his helmet. So, again, me and you, I don't think neither one of us look at our worst days. We wasn't that vicious, violent, and everything. We played a pretty physical style, but
for sure,
there are ways to do it, and there are ways where you just, man, what are you doing? Like that you're exposing yourself to injury, and you're trying to like seriously injure this other dude by taking shots to the head. I was never, I like a physical brand of football, but I'm never trying. I mean, I've seen Ryan Shazier, I've seen players lose the ability to walk. I've seen parallels there. So.
I had a teammate at Tulane the year after I left, and guys doing phenomenal, but just a freak hit like that, one freak hit. And that's what the NFL is trying to get away from. Even seeing some of our brothers post-career, the effect that those residual head hits they have. To say it has no effect is like to say a lifetime smoker has no effect about it. It's good to go. There's some toll that takes place for sure, and it's a sacrifice that guys take, whether they know it now or know when we're 18. Once we become pros, you pretty much sign up for it. But
it's part of this. Part of
it, yeah. So let's try to protect your brothers.
No doubt. Let's talk about. So I played under Andy Reid. You had a chance to play. So like I said, we got a lot of things in common. We don't just both look good. We both got January birthdays. I'm the 14th, you the 4th.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of this Capricorn thing going on. So a lot of things that we have in common. But one of my experiences with Andy Reid was when I got to Philadelphia. I was a free agent coming from the Redskins. Okay. I played the Commanders, like we say, whatever you want to call them. So I get there, and I'm coming off of an injury, and I'm trying to get initiated. Ron Rivera was my linebacker coach. Yeah. Jim Johnson, rest in peace, was our coordinator. And they were just telling you about this blitz package. You got to be up on it, and the adjustments is going fast. We come after. We're very aggressive, pressing all across the field. Man, we are the intimidators. We're the hammer, never the nail. It was like this whole concept about how this defense was just going to be super, super aggressive. And so for my practice demeanor, I'm trying to look around and observe. I'm trying to figure out where I belong, where I'm and things were just 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
The second we crossed that line, helmets on. Nobody took their helmet off the entire practice.
Wow.
Shirt tails tucked in.
All the way in.
Uniforms to the T. No streamer towels. We all look like some clones, like Star Wars, like the clones on Star Wars. Like we look like droids out there. And it was just phenomenal to see how effective and efficient a practice could be run when it's done and everybody there's no individualism. No. Everybody's just part of the system. Let's get it done. The checks and motions and everybody's in and out of stuff. And I was like, man, this is great. This is great to be a part of it. And I do realize, about 7 days into it, I think I forgot to tuck my shirt tail in.
Right.
And Andy, when I signed with the Eagles, like I said, the coordinator, he kind of leaves the defense alone. Like he doesn't really. He's an offensive minded dude, so he didn't say a word to me for the first couple of days. And so day 7, I come over and I think I forgot to tuck my shirt tail in, and I'm running around making plays, whatever, and I knock a ball down, and I'm celebrating.
Yeah.
And I kind of walk past him. He's like, "Hey man, good play, good play. Tuck your shirt tail in." And I'm like, and then when I say he said good play, I might be giving him too much. He might not even say good play.
He might have said,
He might have said, "Hey, tuck your shirt tail in." Like we don't dress like that around here.
Correct.
Kind of thing. So I know you got some. I mean,
Man, I had a very similar story. My first, I came from Green Bay, and we were a good team, so we had some, we had some freedoms. Yeah, for sure.
Some alphas out there.
It was almost a contest to see how swaggy we could get coming out in grit. We had the white cleats. We were ordering cleats for practice. That's our street.
That's what I'm talking about.
And Mike is like, "Yo, I don't care what you guys got on. I just need you to bring a game." So instantly we like, "Oh, say no more." We like, literally guys were cleaner for practice than they were for the games, So I'm coming from that environment. I'm a starter, a little bit of an ego. I've been wearing my jersey up, tucked into my past since a kid, since Pop Warner, Wilbur, New Jersey, right out there. First day of practice, he said, this little scrawny kid runs over. I'm assuming he's equipment or, one of these guys, not a higher up. He's like, "Hey man, tuck your shirt." I'm like, "Dude, if you don't get away from me," I'm thinking he's messing with me. Like, I'm thinking like, we in Indies, it's 100 degrees. I'm like, I know you messing with me. He kind of looks off in the distance. And Andy's standing 150 yards away with his arms crossed like this. No smile. Very serious.
Do it now.
I was like, "Oh, it's time to tuck." Okay. All right. And that was my welcome to Kansas City.
That's like, how they do it here.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way he goes about his business. He runs a very scripted practice. It's long, it's on time, and, he wants to get his reps. That's just the way he's become one of the best coaches of all time, especially offensive coordinators.
And that little red-haired person was...
Yeah. Oh, well, no, that's a different story.
That's a different story.
Yeah, well, his son, I didn't know Britt was his son when I first got there. Again, this is my first week.
Yeah.
I came as part of an 8-man waiver with Ron Parker and some really good players, Jay Howard.
Yeah, Jay Howard.
And we're still getting the feel of it. We don't know the tempo. We don't know any of these things. So, I'm in the pass rush and, little white dude comes over. He's like, "Hey, man, try to work something other than a long arm." I'm like, "Dude, I'm trying to work a long arm." That's the whole, I'm saying? Like,
that's my move.
The move, right?
That's my move.
I'm like, "Yo, how many wrestlers you had in the NFL? You being a young 25-year-old kid, you feeling yourself, you smelling yourself." And he's like, "Oh, okay, it's like that." Walks away like almost too calm. Probably 40, 45 minutes later, somebody calls him Little Red, referring to this guy who I'm like, "Why are y'all calling him Little Red?" They're like, "Bro, that's Andy's son." I'm like, "Andy who?" Andy Reid. I'm like, "Okay, I just told Andy Reid's son to scram."
Yeah, bro.
But me and obviously Britt, we 4 years together, we got to grow a relationship and really get a great feel for one another. But these are just the things, the egos and parts of the sports that sometimes is humbling. For me, that was something I look back and say, definitely could have handled a different way. And that's how I advise kids to this day, be humble, because you never know who's who. And I know, you got to have an attitude and the confidence built in you to make it to that level, but you also want to have that humble, grateful attitude built into you. So, everything works out for you.
Yeah, that's great.
You never know.
Big Red, Little Red, you got to know, hey, man, when you get into the building, know who you're talking to, man, so obviously, man, again, man, Raider Week, I told some stories about Gannon. Man, what you mentioned Rod Woodson being able to be on the
Charles
field.
Woodson.
Charles Woodson.
Yeah, Charles Woodson. Rod Woodson was great too. But.
Yeah, Charles Woodson being on the field with him. So one of the guys I had an opportunity, like, man, growing up, I was a 49ers fan. So I'm from Richmond, Virginia, University of Richmond Spiders. Shout out to the East Coast, obviously. But I'm a 49ers fan. Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, all those guys. But the one guy who I watched every Sunday was Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
I was told he never gets out of shape. He trains 24 hours a day, 12 months out the year, over and over again, man, never gets out of shape. There is no off season. Right. You have an NFL career and you stay in shape during that career. And so going into the league, I was like, man, I want to condition and train myself like I believe Jerry Rice does.
Right.
So once the season was over, man, I take 2 weeks off, do cold tub and all that, but then boom, find a way to get right back into training. And the lack of fatigue and the going into training camp already with my legs up under me, never having that after a few days, everybody talks about you get the heavy legs, cement feet, and all that kind of stuff. Man, through 10 years in the NFL, I never experienced that because I was in this Jerry Rice mode. I was always thinking that was the way to cut myself from a different cloth or be, separate myself from everybody else was my level of fitness.
Yeah.
So going to my last year, not my last year, but my second year with the Kansas City Chiefs, I think we was playing at the Raiders, and they had acquired Jerry Rice one of the years. He still had the
braids.
Yeah.
He was still holding on to
he
the
was
braids.
holding the receding hairline and holding on to. But again, one of the number one receivers in the history of the NFL. He signs with the Raiders. He's there for a couple seasons, and to be able to just be on a field, warming up and play a snap when he's lining up against me, that was my full circle. That was me for a few snaps. I couldn't even get myself aligned in the sign because I was just kind of gazing at my mentor, my idol, everything I thought of this game was going to provide for me in my life. He embodied. Yeah. And so to be able to line up on the field and see Jerry Rice across the ball, it was so surreal for me. And that was one of the only times I felt myself just like kind of, the moment was too big for me. I needed to check myself out the game and, get myself together and say, hey man, if he catch that slant, I'm gonna put him out like anybody. Like,
right.
I'm gonna hit him too.
But I'm gonna help Jerry.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely help Jerry. So any of those with Woodson?
Yeah, honestly, my first year back here was his first year back in Oakland. So.
Okay, because he had two stints with
two. Yep, he started. I believe he had 5-year run with Oakland. Then he was in Green Bay for a stint, and then he went back to Oakland. Right. So the year he went back was the year I came to Kansas City, which put us in the same division. So to see a guy who I'd already, mentored me in some extent, obviously I looked up to my whole life. It's still, like you said, I was in awe to see him at his age to be playing with such grace. Charles Woodson was still punching balls out in his
That's right. That's right.
He was a ball hawk. If you ever seen one, the Peanut Tillman and all that.
Yeah, he gets the credit. Peanut Tillman gets the credit, but Woodson made it an art. He made it look good.
Correct. Yeah. Very smooth. I mean, this brother didn't even practice. Charles Woodson didn't even practice. Like AI said, not a game. Yeah. Brother didn't practice.
Yeah.
And that's just, not that he wasn't in tune. He would come through our walkthrough at the beginning of practice. He kind of disappear and go off and do his. But to see him be able to repeat that process every single day, every single Sunday at his age, I mean, it was clear the dedication. But seeing him come back to Oakland and playing them on that old nasty baseball field / football field, it was still a cool moment. Super nostalgic because I grew up watching him on that same field. Now I'm playing my idol. Very, very, like you said, 360 moment.
Yeah.
I think I just looked up and thank God at one point, like, is this, sometimes you got to pinch yourself.
Yeah.
As a pro, like, is this real? Because it's truly a moment, a lot of times of gratitude when all of those things, all of the work you put in comes full circle. Man, you got to just say your prayers sometimes really and be thankful.
Man, the gratitude, the attitude, the perseverance, ready for everything, man. A bunch of nuggets of wisdom. But man, like we said, man, this is Raider week. And so we're going to talk a little bit about who our Chiefs are preparing for this weekend, the Las Vegas Raiders, right? We're traveling to Vegas, take care of business. Pat Mahomes, after a loss, is 15-3 in his career. 15 wins, 3 losses. So obviously he knows how to focus back in, how not to allow one loss to trickle on and stay in your mind too much. You got to rinse, repeat.
Well, he's the best. That's what makes him special. I think he has all of those intangibles we talk about.
Yes, he does.
Being around his father, being around professionals. He knows how to clear his head, lock in. He's going to play lights out this week.
Yeah, some of the things we're going to expect to see, obviously our defense. We talked about L'Jarius Sneed following the one, so maybe he mirrors Devontae Adams.
Yeah, that's a great matchup, man.
Other than that, obviously we would love to see maybe some back-to-back performances from Chris Jones.
Yeah,
Chris Jones definitely got at the Eagles. In that one series, man, he ate enough for a whole game in that one series.
Correct. Yeah.
I think 2 sacks out of 3 plays. Just a dominant force, man. Obviously, his presence on the D-line, he has to be accounted for. He moves all over the place. He plays interior, exterior on the edge.
He's a freak, man. his first year was my last year, so I got to go through.
Oh, for sure.
Camp with him and spend some time seeing him work. He was just a young gun coming out of college, but to see a man so large, so tall, but be able to get athletic and be slippery, it's hard to even to say it, but to see a guy get skinny at his size, man, Chris Jones is something special, man. Even that sack where he turned the corner, you got to think, this is a 330-pound guy. Most guys will fall on their face if you told them to sprint sideways. Yeah. He came off a chip block, turned the corner like a 250-pound guy, and went made a play.
It's kind of like a combination of a Michael Strahan plus a Bruce Smith, but the freakiness of a Javon Curse.
Yeah.
Like it's attributes of all three of those guys kind of packaged into this 300-pound freak of nature. This has these long levers.
Yeah.
You can't never get into his frame.
No.
The offensive, whether it's double team or
you can't hold him if you wanted to.
You never get into his frame, and he's always just working a half man on you and stuff. So nightmare for offenses. I don't even understand how they think about game planning against him, because
2-3 men. That's what it
he will ruin your game plan, right? Just even when he's blocked, he ain't kind of thing. So that's going to be something that the Raiders have to deal with. And then obviously our linebacker, right? Willie Gay, Tranquil, Leo Chenault, the guys that we know.
Chenault's playing well too.
They're all three playing at a really high level. Oh, man, across the board, when we talk about this Chiefs defense, it's like, yeah, we have guys that we talk about in the All-Pro, like the Ladarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie, but even the guys and Chris Jones, but even the guys we don't talk about in the All-Pro level. Man, we talk about all the explosive plays by Willie Gay, and Tranquil's playing out his mind. And you talk about Mike Dana and Turk.
Dana's playing really solid.
Right? The Greek Freak is having a great second season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and we haven't even talked about two safeties, right? Justin Reed and Bush. Man, it's almost like the next man up. Every person, they're just growing and evolving defensively as such a complete unit. It's no... if I can just hold this person down, we got a chance of moving the ball.
Correct.
The second you focus too much on Chris Jones, you got three other guys coming after you, right?
And that's the beauty. I think they're taking on the personality of their D coordinator. Spags, I've seen study interviews of him and the way he talks. A selfless guy. Even the way he answers questions.
Yes.
It's never about him. It's always about his defense. If there's responsibility to be had or accountability, he's the one that he always steps up. So now you're starting to see a personnel. It's in their personality. These guys are trusting one another, and they're in a lot of zone. If you watch Kansas City, these guys are always got their head back to the quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, as a defender, we love that. Shoot, I get to go hit guys.
Yeah.
They get to do all the work now, and we get to go, put our helmets on some guys. But it's I think it just has to go right back to that. Spags has these guys not only believing in one another, but they're believing in themselves, no matter who you are, whether you're an undrafted free agent like, the last guy on the defensive roster, or you're a star like Chris Jones coming in a week late with the confidence to be ready and go make plays. I mean, since he's touched the ground here, he's been ready.
Yeah, Spag as a game planner, it seems like
Beautiful.
Spag is not game planning depending on the personnel he's putting on the field.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, you're expected to go ahead and do a job and do it at a high level.
Right.
And they're practicing that way. Like you're saying, from a disguise standpoint, a shell standpoint, you're seeing too high, but they're playing man out of it. They're playing one high safety, but they're playing zones out of it. They have half the field in the zone, the other half in the man. So many different variations. That's causing a little bit of gray area, a little bit of hesitation on where the ball should be delivered.
Yeah.
And that's allowing that pressure to get there. And then even when you don't need the extra second, Chris Jones gets there immediately.
Right.
So it's like offensively, it's got to have you scratching your head a little bit of how you're going to try to attack this Chiefs defense.
Right.
And when I look at the Raiders, unfortunately, I don't think they have the quarterback to.
No, you got to have an elite quarterback in this league now. I mean, we can say what we want. We can talk about Brock Purdy's not. You have to have an elite quarterback in this day and age in the NFL in order to really be a team that succeeds down the stretch. Because, you look at the Raiders, man. Even the guys they brought in, the Derek Carrs, which I thought he was an okay quarterback. I didn't think he was going to take them over the top. But you look at the top 5 teams in the league, and they generally have the top 5 receivers. Or excuse me, the top 5 quarterbacks: Eagles, Kansas City, Baltimore, and whoever else you want to put up there. I guarantee you they got a top 5 quarterback. But that's just part of the league now, and it's the nature of the business.
Yeah, and
You
so
have a real guy.
Defensively, we would say that going into any game, if a team would like to have success against us, it has to be with the ground game. Because if you throw the ball too much, you are opening yourself up to Ladarius, you open yourself up to McDuffie, to being pressured by our up front and our guys underneath. So you would think that the running game is the way to, right? You have to create a game where you're going to have running backs run for over 100 yards. And Josh Jacobs, I mean, he was last year, I think, the leader in yardage as far as the NFL. So he has the ability. Unfortunately for the Raiders, they haven't really put him in a position to be that guy this year.
Yeah.
So it might be the difference in being Josh McDaniels as the head coach to now going to Antonio Pierce is, I know AP. I played with him he was a teammate of mine at the Redskins.
Tough nose, man. I used to watch.
Coached under Spagnuolo for a year, I think, with the Giants. He played for him at the Giants. So I think we all have a feel of what that mindset is from an ex-linebacker being a head coach. Like you say, tough nose, hard nose, ground and pound.
Yeah.
Right. Run the ball. Do all the things that just, are an example of his personality. So what are some of the things you think, we need to look forward to seeing as far as their offense?
I mean, I think it's going to be just that. I don't think that they don't even believe they can beat Kansas City in a flat-out passing game. So for them, they got to lean on their run game. And anybody that knows, anything about football, if you can run the ball, it generally opens up the pass, whether that's play action, whether that's straight drop back. If you can run the ball effectively, and when I say effectively, that's 4+ yards on the play. As a defense, we know you give up 4 yards on a run, that's a loss.
Yes, that's a loss.
You give up 3 or less, that's a win.
Yeah.
Same for the offense, flip side. So if you can keep these guys off schedule for Kansas City, that's what they're going to try to do. Mm-hmm. Because the Raiders are going to try to run early, have success, and take their shots. They got number one wide receiver, arguably in the NFL. He's going to make a tough catch. I guarantee you that.
And then flip the script on the defensive side. They got when I watch film of Max Crosby.
Oh, I love him.
It's nothing you can't. There's nothing about his game, his energy, his emotion, his pursuit, his technique, fundamentals. Like he goes power to speed. He goes speed to power. He has a counter move. Pursuit, like everything that you dream of.
Yeah, straight punch you in the mouth.
He's nasty, right? And he knows it. So, the arrogance on top of everything that the tools are just amazing. So, I kind of would like to see us hold him down, but I mean, he gonna get some plays. You just can't let him wreck your offense, right?
Correct. I think he's a guy. He and Patrick Mahomes has a history, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think it's going to be something to watch early on in the game. That storyline, Max Crosby versus Patrick Mahomes. You talked about the refs allowing a little bit extra after the pass.
Yeah.
Well, Max Crosby going to take some and some more. He's one of those guys. He presses the line, and for some people, they don't love him. He's my type of player. That's what I grew up watching. Guys that play with all the love and the passion in their heart, and you can see it the way he comes out there and plays on Sunday. That's how you're supposed to play the game of football.
Man, again, we can stop it with that because Max Crosby, what he embodies is what I believe is like the essence of defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
All three, I don't care what level you're talking about. If you can give me a Max Crosby on the line, at linebacker, and in the secondary, you're gonna win ball games.
Correct.
And I think that's what AP sees, and he's made him kind of like the goal of what everybody should be chasing in that building. Yep. And I think that's why they've had some success. So won his first 2 games, had a loss this past week, so they're going to be trying to rebound. But man, look forward to a great game. Obviously, man, you let me know your predictions online or DM us or whatever you got to do to reach out to us. But with that said, man, hey, that wraps up the show. The process is always greater than when it produces. Man, we got at it a little bit. And this is the holiday edition because, hey, man, it's about to be Thanksgiving. So we could talk about all the meals and stuff. But, man, I am an all sides, no meat guy. I'm not going to do any turkey, no ham. I just do all the sides. Give me all the stuffings and the mac and cheese and the collard greens and all the sides, the candy yams. And I don't do any of it. I don't want any of the main course.
See, we could do Thanksgiving together, man, because I'm all about the meats. Bring me the chicken, the hams, all that. Pass on the turkey, though, unless it's fried and extra juicy.
Hey, man, so with that, I would like to wish you happy holidays and an amazing Thanksgiving to you and yours. Man, happiness starts in the heart, and then enjoy yourself, man. Again, this is The Process with your boy Shawn Barber, and that's my guy,
Yeah.
Dezman Moses.
Love.
We appreciate your time. Thanks for tuning in.